Howdy y'all, it's Alicia, and this is a Pickle Walk Sloth Knits. I am going to be attempting to do a more regular podcast. I'm hoping to do about 2 a month as far as just regular podcast episodes. And this podcast is going to be about knitting and some other crafting, but mostly knitting, my adventures with yarn, and yeah, so that's basically it. Again, I'm Alicia. I live in North Texas in the United States, and I have been knitting for around 15 years, I would say. Maybe a little bit longer, but I think about 15 years. Some of my favorite things to knit, I love to knit shawls. I have more recently started to kind of foray into knitting sweaters or cardigans. I go back and forth on socks. Right now I love knitting socks. I tend to do that with what I enjoy knitting. I will be like all in on socks, and then I won't knit socks for like a year. I'll be all in on shawls, and then I'll take a break from shawls. I'll decide it's time to knit some sweaters, and then I'll take a break on sweaters. So that's just kind of what I do. I think this year I'm going to try to be a little more well-rounded in my knitting, and knit some smaller objects that can be gifts. I did a 2023 knitting plan episode, and I've got some hats that I want to knit, and then a couple of sweaters, and I think I want to re-knit a shawl. So I did a whole make 9 thing. So anyway, that's me and a little bit about my knitting. So I guess we'll just start off with talking about what I'm wearing. This is the RAdvent Cardigan. So it has 3 little buttons on the end. I knit this 2 years ago during Advent, and this is the yarn is a chick that knits. She is out of Oklahoma, just north of Oklahoma City, I believe. This was her Advent for that year. Most of the skeins had some sparkle to them, and the pattern is by Amba O'Brien. Each year for, I believe, the last 4, maybe 5 Christmases, I've done an Amba O'Brien Advent knit. Most often they are shawls or wraps, but this year I decided to give this cardigan a try, and this cardigan was actually knit from one sleeve to the other, which I thought was really neat. So that was kind of a new technique for me at the time, and so I enjoyed it for that. If I had anything to change about this, I would probably add more rows to the ribbing at the bottom and make it a little longer there. And I might do a little bit more ribbing here. I don't know. I really like the sleeves because they have a lot of ribbing, and so I can fold them over. And I like my sleeves to be a little longer anyway, so I really liked that. So I might do a little longer ribbing at the bottom if I had to change anything. But I did enjoy knitting this. The construction was pretty cool, watching it grow. And I kind of like the fun multicolor aspect. It would be great for an Advent that was like a fade, or even just solid colors would also be awesome. So that is what I'm wearing. I don't know that it will stay on the whole time because I think it's supposed to be upwards of 80 degrees today. It's already 66 here in North Texas. So it is nice and warm and toasty out for January. So next I am going to talk about my finished objects, my F.O.s. I have 3 here. So my first F.O., and it has been done the longest of the 3, are my Cozy Knitter Advent socks. I have 2. These I finished them before Christmas because I wore them on Christmas Day. And I did just vanilla socks with a heel and gusset. And I think I did 15 rounds. This is the cuff, the heel, and the toe are in, I'll have to put it in the description because I've gone blank on the yarn. It's a different yarn. And I just had some in my stash. And I thought it's a nice, just basic color to go with the stripes. So I did 15 rows of knit 2, purl 2 ribbing, and then I did my heel and gusset, and then just a standard toe decrease. I did 10 stripes for my leg, and then that left 14 for the foot of my sock. They fit pretty nicely. I believe I cast on, I think I cast on 72. I think next year I'll probably cast on 64 and just see how that goes. Because they're a little loose, but they're comfortable. The yarn is wonderful. Anyway, so that is my first finished object, my Advent socks. You may hear my dogs roughhousing in the background, so sorry. Every time I come up here to record, they want to come with me and then they start to play. But anyway, that's my first FO. I finished that, I think, around December 19th, 20th, somewhere in there. Next up is another pair of socks. And these socks are the Rainbow Connection socks. The pattern is by the Crazy Sock Lady. And these socks I started in probably July. And I got through the first sock pretty quickly. And I just followed the pattern. The yarn is, I think the bare yarn might be Southern Sock, which is by Southern Skeins. And then Desert Vista Dye Works is the self-striping patriotic colorway that they did. Anyway, these socks, the reason it's been forever, and I just finished them last week, is I did the first sock, followed the pattern. It was great. I was loving it. And so you can notice that the pattern goes for half the sock. The front half of the sock is in the pattern, and then the back half is just stockinette. So I got through the first sock, and I really enjoyed it. The pattern was simple but fun. It kept my attention. I loved the yarn. It's very soft. I liked the color, the striping, self-striping. I think this was my first time doing a pair of self-striping socks, so I really liked the ease with which it striped itself. So I cast on the second sock right away after I finished the first, and I got well into the leg of the second sock and discovered that I had done the pattern all the way around. And so, yeah, that happened. So when I finally noticed, I decided I had plenty of yarn, and I decided that I did not want to rip back the sock, that I would just start a third sock to make a matching pair. And then I would make another sock, a fourth sock, where the pattern went all the way around the leg, and just do the normal foot. So I believe that I have 3 full socks now, so I just have one more sock to do. But I did finish the original pair so that they match, and the striping matches pretty closely. You can tell my reds are a little bit, like, if I flip it that way, they're the same. So it's, I did really like that it was very easy to start with the same color, and get the striping to where it really matches very well. And yeah, so I just finished these. I don't even think I've had a chance to block them yet. But I'm excited to get to wear those in the future, and I'll have another pair of almost the exact same socks. But they got put on timeout. And the reason that they got put on timeout, I believe, is probably because I got frustrated, and then I had to get started on my next F.O. that I'm about to show you. So these got put in timeout for a while. I came back, I finished the third sock, and then that fourth sock, that second pair is going to be in timeout for a little while because I have other things that I need to work on and that I want to work on before I complete that second pair. But they'll get completed eventually, hopefully this year. So anyway, that is my second F.O. and my third F.O. This is a big one. And this is why I had to put all my other projects kind of in timeout or in project limbo for a while. And that is because this is the, and I'm not going to be able to show all of it, the Twist and Turns wrap by Stephen West. And I did a couple of Vlogtober episodes where I talked about this thing. I don't know how people got this done in October. Some people, I guess, did. I did not. I just finished it last week. Now, I will say that I worked on it pretty steadily in October. November, I worked on it, but the week of Thanksgiving, I think I put it down. But before Advent started, before I started doing Vlogmas and doing my Advent knits, I was actually working on the final bind off edge down at the bottom, wherever it is. And I just set it down. I had maybe half of that left to go, and I just set it down and said, I want to work on these other things. So when I picked it back up, I really didn't have much left to do. I just did that last bit of bind off. I did decide not to do the little embellishments down here that go in the cables. I think I'm just going to leave them. I like the cables, and I don't know how I feel about the gold being entwined in the dark pink. So I think I'm just going to leave the cables. They're pretty. And so, yeah, and I still have a bunch of ends that I need to trim up. I have blocked it, but I need to go back and trim off all the extra ends. Anyway, I am glad she is done. I may have blocked it a little bit over. I've got some gapping up here. But I mean, that's okay because it's going to be racked around. The things I enjoyed about this, I enjoyed all the different techniques. It was an engaging knit. I really love the end result of the braid deal. I think that's pretty cool. I don't know that I've never done so much twisted rib. And I love the end result of the twisted ribs in that section, just that different look. I really enjoyed that. It had been a while since I had done cables and kind of fell back in love with those. And they were not as arduous as I remember them being. I actually really enjoyed that section of the knitting. I had never done so much I-cord. In fact, I done very little I-cord in my knitting. And I really love the way it looks. Like almost all of the edges have I-cord, and it just really gives it a nice finish. I really like it. I'm actually, one of my current W.I.P.s has I-cord on the edge, and I love the look that it gives. It's really nice. I think I'm actually working on sorry, they're sitting right beneath me, and they're wrestling. So anyway, and I'm actually working on a Coziest Memories scrappy blanket And I think I might do an I-cord border on that when it's done. I mean, it's barely started, so it's going to be forever. I think that the Crazy Sock Lady has a tutorial for that, so I'm going to have to look into that and see. So those are my 3 F.O.s. It is nice to have some F.O.s. I felt like I wasn't getting a whole lot done there for a while. I always do more knitting during Advent where I feel like I'm making progress because I do try to keep up. However, moving on to W.I.P.s, works in progress, is my main Advent knit. So I had my Advent socks, but my main Advent knit was the All Sorts Cape by Amba O'Brien. And it is still on the needles. And of course, I'm in the middle of a row because that's just how it is. So here it is. It is kind of all over the place because it is a cape. So this is the middle of the neck area. And so here's one side of the cape. I'm hoping you'll be able to hear me above these dogs. Here's one side of the cape. And then here's the side I'm working on. So it's still on the needles down there at the bottom. I am on color 23. So I'm hoping to finish this within the next 2 days. And I'm actually on the last repeat for color 23. So then I have color 24, and then I have a section of the main color, and then it'll be done. So I should be done with this hopefully by this weekend. So in my next episode, this should be a finished object. So that's that. Again, the pattern is by Amba O'Brien. It is called the All Sorts Cape. The Advent yarn is from the Woolly Dragon. I've done this is the second year that I've purchased an Advent from them, and it's lovely yarn. The theme of the Advent was the Neverending story, so it has quite a few more neutral tones, in my opinion. I mean, there are lots of purples and blues, but yeah, kind of darker, not quite as sparkly as this one. Anyway, so this should be done soon. Another work in progress is I started these in December, and they are Christmas socks. Again, these are just going to be a basic vanilla sock. This green that I'm doing the cuff, it'll probably be, yeah, the cuff and the toes I'll do in the green. I actually dyed that a while ago. I didn't even give it a color. I was just kind of practicing and playing with yarn and dyeing. And then the main color is by Southern Skeins. I believe it's called HoHoHo. And I've had that for, I think 5 years, maybe. I think I got it in 2017. I made a shawl out of it, but I had a ton extra. The shawl took like maybe 1.25 skeins, and I had 3 skeins, so I've got plenty. So I just decided I'll make that I wanted to knit some socks. It is a sock base. Believe her sock base is 80/20. Of course, I took very simple notes, but I didn't get all of my yarn information together, so I will have to post all of that below. So anyway, it's just going to be, it's a fairly short sock. I think I did 20 rows of ribbing, and then I think I just did 20 rows of regular, just stockinette stitch. So that's that. And then I, my heel and gusset, and yeah. So I'm only on the first sock, so I don't know. And it's kind of, I want to finish my All Sorts cape, and then I have a few other things, really one other main thing that I have to finish by the end of this month because it's a gift. So these are kind of just, once I finish that All Sorts cape, these will be my taking the car to pick up the boys from practice knitting thing. Anyway, and they don't need to be done until next Christmas anyway. So So that is my second work in progress. Next I have, oh, this guy right here. And this is, let me make sure I don't lose it. The Shenandoah Hat. And it is one of the patterns from the Knit the National Parks book by Nancy Bates. And this is knitting up so fast. It's worsted weight, so that makes a difference. And I really enjoy color work, so that helps as well, because I just keep knitting because I enjoy the changing and the difference in the different rows. I did actually make a mistake along the way, but it's not super noticeable. It's on these little maple leaves, and this was supposed to be start down like a row or two below, and I missed that, and I just decided that I wasn't going to go back because it doesn't look that bad, and so I'm just going to leave it. The first one was done correctly, and then I lost count, and so I'm not going to worry about it. I think it looks fine. This is going to be, hopefully he's not watching. If he is, then I'm spoiling the surprise. I'm planning to give this to my brother for his birthday, which is the 28th of this month, because we are from Virginia, and he used to love to go up into the Shenandoah Mountains, and he just loved the outside, and he loves being outside, and so he liked to go up to the mountains for little day trips to hike, or, mostly to hike. And so these are represent the leaves in the fall, the trees and the leaves in the fall. And so I thought that would be nice for him, and maybe he'll get to wear it a little bit this year. Maybe not. Today it's going to be close to 80, so but hopefully over the years, hopefully he'll like it. And if he doesn't want to wear it, that's fine too. I think he'll enjoy it just because it'll remind him of home a little bit, or where we grew up. He lives down here now, near us, which is wonderful, and we love it here, but he did love going to the mountains in Virginia, and we don't have those anywhere near us. So anyway, that's for him. And then lastly, I kind of mentioned this before. I started the Coziest Memories blanket. So right now I just have just a stripe. And I am not a huge, I don't really have a set plan currently. I'm just kind of attaching squares until I feel like, okay, that's going to be wide enough. And then I'll start, doing the second row. Right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 little squares attached, and I'm using the leftovers from my All Sorts cape from the Woolly Dragon Advent from this year. Well, I guess last year, from 2022. And I have a ton of other fingering weight scraps from previous Advents and just previous projects. So I'm kind of excited about that. I am trying to do Scrappy Sundays. I think this past Sunday I did 2 or 3 squares before I started working again on some of the other projects. But trying to make sure on Sundays that I do a couple of squares at least. And I enjoy them because they're pretty quick. So I feel like I've accomplished something by doing a square or 2. And like I said, I think when I'm done, I think I'll go back and do probably an I-cord border around the whole thing. I think that'll just give it a nice finished look. And yeah, So that is, I think that's it for my kind of current WIPs that I'm really working on. I have other WIPs that are kind of languishing or in timeout that I hope to bring out once I get some of these finished. My goal is to work on completing WIPs or deciding, you know, if I'm not going to ever complete them, to just go ahead and frog them. But that's my goal this year, is that each time, so like I started this hat new, but I had finished those Rainbow Connection socks. So I'm really trying to make sure that I finish a WIP before I let myself start a new project. So I have another project that I really want to start soon. And so I'm really close on my all sorts cape. And I'm also I've already started the decreases on this as well. So I should be able to start something else soon once I get those two finished. And yeah, so I'm just trying to do that so that I can get these WIPs cleared out and get the bags that they're in to use for other things and start using up my stash. Yeah, so that is that. But these are all of my current, I am really working on these WIPs that I have. So moving right along into acquisitions. I do not have any yarn acquisitions to share. However, I did receive for Christmas an Addie King circular knitting machine. And so I have been playing a little bit with this. There are some really great YouTube videos with tutorials on them for that machine. And so I have made a few hats. In fact, hold that thought. I've made just some basic hats. This one's little. I have a great niece that was born recently. And she's a baby. And so this is just a little baby hat. And it is, you know, it's the same. It's just a long tube and then it's folded in on itself. And so when she's really little, she can wear it folded up like this. And then as she gets a little bigger, it can be folded down. Anyway, so I've made that one on the machine, which is great because I have a ton of like big box store acrylic yarns, and this one, yeah, I don't have the yarns. I'll find them and put them down below. This one's really soft and pretty kind of pink yarn. It's worsted weight. I made the little Pom Pom. I had little Pom Pom makers. I've had them for a while and I've never made a Pom Pom. So that's my first little Pom Pom attempt. It didn't go great, but it's fine. And then I also made, and this is in the Impeccable yarn, which I believe is at Michael's. And again, it's worsted acrylic yarn, but yeah, so this is like a kind of a waffle pattern. I don't know. And again, I will have to put the information for it in the description because I'm ill prepared. So yeah, this one, and then on the inside, it's just a doubled. So it's just a plain on the inside, and then on the outside, it's got the little waffle pattern, and you fold up the brim. And yeah, so I've made a couple of hats. I've definitely found some other things on YouTube that I hope to try on this machine to kind of see, you know, they work up pretty quickly, and that's kind of nice, especially for, you know, gifts and using up some yarn that's been just kind of sitting for years, needing to be used. So I might definitely want to make some hats for my Pickle Walk Sloth girls, and probably give them to them at next year's wrapping party. So I'll probably do them on the knitting machine because it's easy and fast. And then other gifts for others, and maybe even do some for charity. Yeah, and just use up some of this yarn. So with this hat's a little bear on the top. I didn't make a pom-pom for that because my other acquisition is from Amazon, and it is the furry Pom Poms. Sorry for the crinkling. So yeah, they're all in there. Lots of colors. There's even some like pink. Yeah, I got these. They had good reviews, so I was probably gonna get a brown one most likely, and put on the top of this and see how that looks. So yeah, with the hats, everybody will probably get a pom-pom too. So those are my only like crafting, knitting adjacent acquisitions that I have for this episode. No yarn. I have some that I am working on. Although I do have, I think I showed this in one of my Vlogmases. But I did get this in December when we went to a dive meet. So it was I've gotten this since I last recorded a podcast episode, and it is Olive Yarn Dye Company, hand dyed in Texas. We were down in Houston, and I like to try, if I can, I try to find a yarn shop and maybe get some sort of souvenir yarn when we travel. And this is the Bella Lace base. It's a 2-ply lace weight, 80% superwash merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. Good grief, it's 635 yards and 115 grams. It is very soft and squishy. I have no idea what I'm going to knit up with it. Probably a shawl. And the the colorway is Olive U, and it is a kind of an olive green color. I'm not sure that it's coming across. I think it might look a little more gray than it actually is. My lighting up here is not great. And I forgot to turn on my other light. So anyway, so that is a yarn acquisition, but I think I had shown this in my vlog, in one of the Vlogmas episodes. But anyway, I don't have any plans for that right now, but maybe later in the year, once I get through some of the things that I have planned for the next couple of months, I might find something to knit that up with. So future plans. Speaking of plans that I don't have, I'll talk about some of the plans that I do have. So I'm going to finish my hat for my brother. That has to be done by the end of January. And then I decided one of my goals for 2023 was to knit a significant amount of things from stash. I have a fairly good stash. This is most of what's in here is fingering weight, hand-dyed yarn. Yeah. And then I also have bags and tubs and bins full of various other, I have a pretty good selection of just worsted weight acrylic from, Joann's and Hobby Lobby and Michael's. And then I have some of the, what I used for this hat is I have various worsted weight wool that my friend Taya was destashing stuff that she had, and she said if I could come and pick it up, I could have it, and I said I can come pick it up. So, and I'm glad I did, because most of the hats in the book that this pattern is in call for worsted weight wool, and So, and I have it, I mean, all of these colors were colors that she had. And this was just a small portion of it. In fact, I think I counted up, yeah, the bag of worsted weight wool that she gave me had 34 full skeins. But then there were other, like some that were almost full, some that were just little remnants. So there was a ton of wool in there. So in multicolors. So I'm working on the hats that I'm going to do this year. I'm going to try to use that wool, as long as I can find comparable colors. And then I counted, and I know this isn't all, but I counted up 31 full skeins of acrylic kind of value store yarn that I will be working on using the knitting machine probably for most of those. There are some things that I have that I might use that for baby gifts for the new great niece. I might use some of the acrylic for that. There's a cardigan that I have planned. Sorry, we have a barking dog again. A little cardigan that I have planned that I'll probably use that for, just for ease of... Okay, I'm gonna try to get through this, but we have the, there's some guys outside now taking down our Christmas lights, and the dogs are going bananas because they can see them out the door and out the windows. So I'm gonna try to power through and get this recorded. Anyway, so some of that acrylic yarn I will use on some of those. Charlie, come here. For those baby items, I will use some of the acrylic yarn because it is easy to wash and care for. And so I don't want new parents to have to worry about hand washing a baby item. So I will probably use some of that for a couple of baby gifts. So yeah, so on my yarn shelf back here, I counted, let me see. Did I not total that up? I did not total that up. Well, I have 6 little cubbies, and in 2 of those cubbies I have 16 skeins. One cubby has 20, one has 12, one has 14, and one has 13. And I will put the total, maybe I'll talk about the total next time. So I don't have a set goal of as far as number of skeins I want to knit, or that I have to knit all of them, get rid of all of them. I just want to knit from stash and keep track of how many I do use. And again, I only counted full skeins. So there are some small remnants that I didn't include in that count. So that is kind of my future plans, is to knit from stash. I have a sweater that I want to start. It's called the Cobblestone Hoodie. I hope to start that after I finish my All Sorts cape and my hat for my brother. That'll be the next thing I cast on. And then in February, my brother's wife has a birthday. And so I'm going to do another hat for her. And that should, as quickly as this one knit up, that one should be a piece of cake. So I'll cast that on probably kind of simultaneous. As soon as I finish this hat, I'll probably cast that on as well. Anyway, so those are my future plans. And I am all flustered now because we have the Christmas lights being removed and the dogs losing their minds. So I am going to go ahead and call that an episode. And thank you so much for joining me here and listening to me ramble about all of my yarn and my knitting. And anyway, I hope that I see you again on the YouTube. And please, if you've enjoyed this, give it a like and consider subscribing. But anyway, thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.